What you just watched was the first couple of shots of the game Halo Reach. On base value, this piece of media is just another game for people to play. In reality though, Halo Reach is an allegory for growing up, given how Bungie has considered the game to be their moving on point. Not only does the game make the company behind it grow up though, but also the player playing it as well. Let's begin.
June, I want your eyes on the sky.
Sir.
Let's go, 6.
Halo Reach is a 2010 first-person shooter that was created by Bungie and published by Microsoft. The game is the 5th installment in the Halo series, following Halo 3 and the expansion that was Halo 3 ODST. Beyond being just the 5th installment in the series though, this was the last Halo game that was produced and created by Bungie alone. Soon after, the company would sell the rights to 343 Industries to focus on other projects for the future. The game follows a team of Spartan 2s and 3s as they are deployed on Reach to investigate a local town skirmish. After arriving, the team learns that the skirmish was actually an attack from the Covenant, meaning that the alien race had invaded the planet. The rest of the game follows a team desperately trying to fight against the Covenant, while each member is picked off one by one. You play as Noble 6, a silent, deadly, and lonely character now a part of the team. The game ends with you alone once more, fighting off the Covenant, and losing. The main people that had worked on the game were Marcus Leto and Lee Wilson. The article, Halo Reach 10 Years Later, Marcus Leto and Lee Wilson on Creating Bungie's Final Halo, goes into detail on some of the development. Author Tom Power provides a lot of information on the game in general, so I will be going back to this article multiple times during the video. Leto is the co-creator of Halo, along with being the creative director behind Reach. Wilson was the lead writer, ensuring that the story matched Leto's ideas. Reach, compared to Halo 3, had smashed the previous Day 1 record when it came to sales. The game had sold $200 million on the first day of its release, making it a welcoming surprise to Bungie. However, this was expected, given how Bungie has been known as a notable company through all of its Halo games. Microsoft, on the other hand, has had a questionable track record. While being an incredibly successful company, its company outreach leaves it publishing many games that are rather lackluster. Also, the company is infamous for pushing DLC and additional funds, making players have to pay more for the game they have. Luckily for Halo Reach though, this issue wasn't present. Microsoft now owns a lot of companies, some including Activision, Mojang, and Skype.
AA gun should be in visual range.
2 Lima Ford and Noble 1.
Halo Reach, from the beginning to the end, was intended to be Bungie's closure of the series. Marcus Leto described it by saying, "We wanted to bring closure to our part of the universe. That brought us events just prior to Halo Combat Evolved, where we looked at the Spartans on Reach. While 343 was planning to continue on the story, Bungie believed that Reach was a fitting conclusion to the way that they had done Halo all along. While sad, the story was gratifying and validating. For this reason, the game received many great awards and claims and is considered one of the best Halo games. Its notoriety can be attributed to 2 reasons. These reasons are for its serious, dreadful tone, and its projection/customization. The first and last shots of the game instill the feeling of dread and fear that is present throughout the game. Rather than playing similar to the other Halo games, Reach flips this game entirely. Master Chief in the past was an immovable force that could decimate anything. Seeing the moments or actions that he had done through the previous games sets up this belief that Noble 6 will be the same. Noble 6, on the other hand, isn't. The first shot of the game is your personal helmet, scratched, tarnished, and broken. In the middle of the visor is a bullet hole, surrounded by broken glass. After viewing your helmet, it then cuts to you starting the game, holding that same helmet in your hand. Similar to literary stories like The Book Thief, Reach starts out reminding the players of your inevitable demise. The story then follows this tone, with each character's death and moment becoming sadder, scarier, and more depressing. As each member of the team gets picked off one by one, you are then left more and more anxious for your own well-being. Will the mission be finished? Will you complete what you need to do? Until finally, in the end, you watch yourself fight valiantly till your death through the same cracked visor you saw in the beginning. As opposed to previous Halo games, Reach provided each player with an ample amount of customization and personalization. Each Spartan can be equipped with hundreds of armor variations and choices. Not only can the armor be changed, but the gender of the Spartan itself can also be picked from either male or female. All this customization is transferred directly into the campaign, meaning the armor is directly reflected on Noble 6 as well. So, this means that however you design your character is how Noble 6 is perceived. For this reason, it becomes easy to project yourself onto the character. Projecting yourself on a character is when someone begins to see themselves or characteristics of themselves on someone in a creative or literary piece. For Noble 6, projection is easy. We never see Noble 6's face. This, paired with his quiet nature, makes it incredibly easy for players to assume the role of him. Each character on the team also has authenticity associated with themselves as well. Each team member, other than Emil, shows their face, so it becomes distinct and apparent. Similar to their armor, it helps define each member. With your own customization too, you then feel as if you are part of the team as well. As a cinematography side note too, a majority of the cutscenes are filmed either in first person or on shots that look as if they are from real cameras. This gives off the impression of authenticity, further making players immersed as Noble 6. So, why use the series' dreadful tone? Well, I considered Halo Reach to be the adult version of previous Halo releases. The initial dreadful tone extends past the emotions of playing the game. If anything, it helps make the player grow up. The days of happy, superhero-esque characters are no more. For example, let's compare two scenes. One from Halo 3 ODST, in which the fire team works together to fight a brute. During this scene, one of the members is injured, which is a moment that is way more brutal than was expected at the time. Take a look.
Get her! Get this thing off of me! How bad? Not good.
We're gonna get you out of here. Not by air, we're not.
It's all right.
I know another way.
I consider this the tip of the iceberg of brutality and growing up. While this is just the tip, Halo Reach is definitely a deep dive on the iceberg. For example, let's watch this scene.
We got movement. Multiple Covenant vehicles vacating the area. And they're in a hurry.
How often you see Covenant retreat for no reason?
Radiation flare. Big. 40 million root guns.
Just lost Holland. What's going on?
Atomic excitement scrambled the signal. 90 million now.
Source?
Airborne. Close.
How close?
That close! First glassing? Me too. Don't worry, I'm on it. Our best option is a fallout bunker on sub-level 2, 96 meters northeast. We get orders from Holland, sir?
We're being redeployed to Sword Base.
Sword? Covenant own it now!
Which is why they want us for a torch and burn op. Keep Dr. Halsey's excavation data from falling into enemy hands.
It hasn't already.
Maybe, but according to Holland, the Covenant are still hunting for something.
Where does he get off calling a demolition a priority one?
Come Come on, get in!
Let's go! Come on!
This scene is far darker, scarier, and grittier than any other previous Halo game. Also, this is only one of the characters' deaths, with many of the others following this dark style. Something like this was rarely, if at all, never in any of the other previous Halo games, at least to this extent. Reach is dark and scary because the people that had played it have grown up. It becomes a moment to move on, in which the older players now have to leave this series behind. Along with the theme of growing up, the personalization in the game as well helps players along with this process. Given how easy it is to project yourself on the character, it then becomes easy to die with the story. In the end, we see our characters battered and defeated. The story is over. The final lines of the game explain how no matter what may happen, your body belongs to Reach. In many ways it does. I've shared so many memories in this game, some that I may never relive ever again. Despite this, the memories are there. Yet, playing this game directly contradicts what video games are for. In COM, there's a media effect theory that explains why we engage in specific types of media, such as video games. Gratification theory is when an audience selects and attends to forms of media while ignoring others in order to fulfill needs and to provide gratification of interests and motives. In simple terms, gratification theory is when we take in media as a means of enjoyment or entertainment. People can watch TV, play video games, or take in other forms of media for these reasons. Other than entertainment though, gratification theory is used for passing time, companionship, escape, enjoyment, social interaction, relaxation, and information. For the case of video games, and Reach, gratification theory can be used for passing time, enjoyment, excitement, and escape. However, escape becomes hard because of the game itself. Another media effect theory present within the game is cultivation theory. Cultivation theory argues that the media generally presents an image of the world that does not reflect reality. For the case of Halo Reach, cultivation theory is present in many moments. It shows a gritty, depressing, war-driven future where we as a nation are crumbling against the dangers of another alien race. There is a disproportionate amount of violence, destruction, and heartbreak within the game. Yet, when you take a step back, the whole situation itself is just a fantasy. None of the game is real, meaning all the moments that have transpired aren't real either. Yet the game has an effect on us. Cultivation theory, combined with gratification theory, break what is meant to be for a video game. Stay with me now. Video games are meant to be seen as an enjoyment, an escape from the reality that we have seen or have done every single day. Often, we can use them to escape from real-life wars, destruction, and violence. Yet, Reach does the opposite. It doesn't sweep those elements under the bed. Rather, it flips over the bed. It shows the player the brutal, destructive world that we live in, rather than hiding it. This creates an effect on the player for sure. Bungie is showing itself that the company is growing up and that the happy moments of the past are over. What effect does this game then have on the player, beyond the previous theories mentioned? Well, I believe that a parallel occurs between both the company along with the people playing the game. As mentioned previously, Bungie had worked on 5 installments of Halo, having it stretch from 2001 to 2010. If anything, the company was growing and maturing as each game was finished. With this, there is a high likelihood that players too had grown too, leaving them with Halo Reach. Yeah, the gratification they got from the game previously was skewed. It faced players with things they wished to escape from. It faced players with a sad reality. If anything, it faced players with life. Halo Reach is an allegory/message from Bungie showing how the company has grown up and moved on. However, Reach is also an allegory for the people that played it. Reach made the people playing it grow up. After that final frame turned to black, I remember sitting in my basement, staring blankly at the screen. Reach taught me many things, yet the biggest was growing up. Reach taught me that life can be cruel sometimes, and that I had to be ready for it. The ethical concerns behind this game definitely raised some eyebrows in parents, including my own. The most generic, well-known one is that violent video games leave a negative impact on the people playing them. However, this is often a gross overgeneralization. Bungie never really had any incidents linked to this, and to issues related because of violent video games. Often, Halo is pooled into other games simply because it is a first-person shooter. So, the violence in the game doesn't yield bad actions. How about the theme of growing up though, through the tone and personalization? Well, I argue that this is a good theme. As much as we'd love to, you can't live as a child forever. Eventually, you have to grow up and face the world at one point. Reach was just part of the process. While bittersweet, after finishing the game, many regarded it as fitting. Power reflected on this in his article. Powers wrote, "With Reach's fate sealed pre-development, Bungie also had a difficult task of ensuring that players felt a sense of accomplishment once the credits rolled. Wilson admitted it was very freeing to kill off Noble Team, but reaching a fitting story conclusion was necessary for it to feel like their efforts weren't in vain. When you set something up in the past, you can accept that these people might not be around anymore," he explained. "But it's like Saving Private Ryan. As long as something good comes out of it, then that is the hope. And it's a very heroic ending for them in the end." Games that put players in a sealed fate create big risks within the success of the game. Often, some players can think that it feels rushed or unnecessary. When done right though, it can create a substantial emotional impact on the person playing the games themselves. For Reach, that impact is definitely there. When talking with my friends about this video, I even got a response that strengthened my belief. My brother particularly told me that after he finished Reach, he felt different, changed almost. Therefore, it seems fitting that Reach not only allowed Bungie to grow up, but for the fans who played it as well. Now, how could you better engage with a piece of media like Halo Reach? Well, the easy answer would be to simply play the game. In order to understand the story, the emotions, and the experience itself, playing the game really does yield the best outcome. However, there are many other examples of pieces of media that follow a similar story to Reach. Often, these are pieces that are defining/changing moments within the series. For example, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is a great example of Reach's themes. Similar to the game, all the important members die in the end, fighting valiantly to get something crucial to more powerful and influential people. Each member sacrifices himself to get the Death Star plans to Leia, similar to Six sacrificing himself to get Cortana to Keyes. Both stories share many parallels and is definitely worth a watch. Another piece of media that shares similarities with Halo Reach is a book called All Quiet on the Western Front. This 1929 novel was written by Erich Maria Remarque, who is a German veteran of World War I. Similar to Reach, the story follows a group of soldiers desperately fighting on the front lines. Also, the story shares similarities in character deaths, meaning that by the end of the book, even the narrator himself is killed. The book provides another example of hopelessness, along with this theme of growing up amongst the soldiers.